We're back in the office. It's been a few days since I got back from Funnel Hacking Live, actually, and well, I got home at 4:30 in the morning on Sunday, and so I kind of slept in and had to take a few days to recoup. But we're back now, and as you can see clearly out the window, we're not in Tennessee anymore. Not at all. I think the coldest it got in Tennessee was maybe like 48 or 49 while I was there. It's t-shirt weather as far as I'm concerned. Great Lakes, Ohio. We live in a special place called the Snow Belt where we experience something called the lake effect. And it was 60 degrees 2 days ago and now it's a blizzard. Thanks. But anyways, this video is going to be a little bit less of a vlog and more of a review of Funnel Hacking Live 2020. If you want to watch the previous videos, they are much more vloggy and they kind of just follow me around and I show you the Opryland and, you know, kind of show you what the trip looked like for me from Ohio to Nashville. And it gives you a more intimate look of what it's like being at Funnel Hacking Live if you're interested in that. But in this video, I'm going to do two things. The first thing I'm going to do is talk about Funnel Hacking Live 2020. I'm going to give you an overview of everything I did, what it was like, who I met, how valuable the presentations were and the information, the price, the cost. I'm going to give you my overall evaluation if I thought whether or not Funnel Hacking Live 2020 was worth it. And if you're thinking about going to a Funnel Hacking Live sometime in the future, hopefully that section of this video really helps you make a good decision. The second part of this video is going to be me sharing all of my takeaways. So I basically filled a notebook with notes and I have all the worksheets and the flyers and the books and everything I got from Funnel Hacking Live, which I'm going to share with you guys and show you. So if you're looking to get some really good information or just kind of look at my notes that I got, the second half of this video is going to be perfect for that. Definitely not the same thing as being there yourself, but you know, there are still some really awesome things that I learned while I was there. It's also kind of the main reason why I didn't film too much at the convention in the previous vlogs. I kind of wanted to make sure that I was listening and focusing as much as possible and not fiddling with the camera. But I took so many notes. I mean, there's going to be plenty to talk about. So without further ado, let's talk about Funnel Hacking Live and determine if it was worth it. So I paid $9.97 for my ticket, about $1,000. We were offered a special deal to stay at the Gaylord Hotel, which is in the Opryland. Someone told me that it was like $220 a night, somewhere between $220 and $270 a night. I didn't look at that because when I'm traveling by myself, especially on business, I just like to travel light. I knew that the days were going to be 12 or 13 hours long, and if I'm not going to be spending more than, you know, if I'm going to be doing more than sleeping in my hotel room, I might consider getting a nice hotel room. But look, I'm practical. I'm very pragmatic, I'm efficient. So I got a room at Motel 6, which was like 9 miles away. I saved myself about $1,000 by doing that. All I did was sleep there. If I wasn't sleeping, I was exercising, going for runs at local parks, or I was at the convention. I packed all of my own food because everything in the Opryland is obscenely expensive. A cup of black coffee from the Starbucks inside the Opryland was $6.50. The lattes and the macchiatos were like 14 or 15 bucks. I mean, it was just crazy. So I didn't eat at any of the restaurants, even though they looked awesome. And if you want to see what this place looks like, if you've never seen it before, go watch the other vlogs. I'll make sure there's a link in the pinned comment to those. It's arguably the most impressive building I've ever been in my life. I would argue that if you're never going to make your way out to Nashville and you're never going to visit the Opryland Convention Center, if Funnel Hacking Live is even remotely relevant to you and your business, you should go, just as an excuse to see the Opryland. But I didn't really do anything in the convention center except attend the convention. I drove to Nashville from Akron, Ohio, which is where I live, and it was almost exactly 500 miles. It was about a 7.5-hour drive. There were only about 3 main highways I drove on. Pretty easy drive, not too bad. The roads in Nashville are pretty easy to navigate. Don't have too many complaints about travel. I'm sure most of you would probably need to fly in, and I can confirm that the airport is, I think, relatively close because there were constantly airplanes flying overhead. I didn't actually go into downtown Nashville. The convention center is north of downtown. But the convention itself, the convention was great. It was very impressive. The entire center was decked out with ClickFunnels stuff. I mean, it was everywhere. There were giant flags hanging from the ceiling. It was very easy to figure out where to go because there were people everywhere to help you navigate. The place is massive. It would be easy to get lost. But once you find the convention center, everything pretty much takes place in one room, one giant convention room, and there's plenty of seats. And as long as you show up at least 10 minutes before the doors open, you can get relatively good seats. But if you really want to sit in the very front, like the front 20 rows, you either have to be early access or someone in the 2 Comma Club, or you have to really weasel your way in to the very front of the crowd, and when the doors open, you do a full sprint. There's about 100 to 200 people who, every time the doors open, would do a full sprint to the front of the room. I saw multiple people just fall and faceplant and completely eat dirt. So just be careful, especially if you're older or anything like that. You know, just wait at the back of the crowd because some of these people are freaking crazy. The speakers were really, really great. I mean, there was a ton of people. I think we must have seen about 30 speakers total. There were people who are really, really well known. Tom Bilyeu was there, Tony Robbins was there, of course Russell Brunson was there, Prince E.A., Ryan Holiday, one of my favorite authors, he was there. He was great. Did I say Frank Kern? He was there. Lots of big name people who shared lots of valuable information that I'll be going over with you in the second part of this video. My favorite speakers out of the entire group were by far Tom Bilyeu and Garrett White from Wake Up Warrior. The two of them, they absolutely killed it. Their speeches were so riveting, so motivational, and so useful. I mean, just practical. They were fantastic on stage, and I really, really enjoyed their presentations. Tony Robbins was also really great, as always. He did seem really tired, and that doesn't come as a surprise to me. I think he's approaching 60 years old. He's been doing this for so long, and his schedule's crazy. But he did seem kind of tired and beaten down when he spoke, but he still did a fantastic job. He spent like 3.5 hours with us, and I mean, I'm pretty sure that we got at least part of the curriculum from Unleash the Power Within because he was pulling people out of the audience, and he shared some really, really valuable information. I have probably 3 or 4 pages of notes just from his talk. The convention center is cold. The place where you sit inside is relatively cold, so wear layers. The area outside the convention center, outside the doors where you gather before the doors open, is really, really hot. The ceilings are a lot lower, and before the event starts, there's probably 2,000 people crowded in this hallway, and it gets really, really hot. There's live music, there's lots of booths. Tony Robbins had a booth, a lot of the other speakers had their own booths. There was a ClickFunnels merchandise store. There was a recharging station for phones. They have pretty much everything you need there, and they even had Wi-Fi for the convention, which is crazy because Wi-Fi for 5,000 people must have cost as much as a brand new car. But they pulled it off, and yeah, they definitely spent a lot of money on this thing. The production quality was insane. There were cameras on cables flying over the crowd. There were 2 different cranes with cameras. I mean, it is a Class A production. I met lots of really, really great people. Some of the people, I met a really wonderful couple from Sweden. Edvin and his girlfriend were there, and they do marketing for local businesses. They were super awesome. I got to talk to them about everything, about businesses, ads. We ended up talking about politics and the differences between America and Sweden. It was great connecting with them. I met another man, Ajit. He was from London. He runs 2 daycares, and he was trying to get some new ad strategies to boost attendance. He was super nice. I met a man named Scott who was a photographer. I think he was from Florida, but he was trying to get out of photography and find something else to do where he could make money online. So there were people from all different levels, right? Some of the friends I made were millionaires. Others were people who were just like, I want to learn how to make money online, and I don't know how to do it. So people of all levels, every single different industry. I only met one other coach while I was there. I probably met 40 to 50 people, and only one of them was also a life coach, and he was really, really nice. I connected with all these people on social media and made some great friends. The atmosphere is, it's very open, right? I mean, the net worth of the people in that room had to have exceeded $1 billion. I mean, it had to. I looked up the net worth of some of the really big names, and I mean, just the 80 to 150 people who were there that are in the 2 Comma Club. I mean, there was so much money in that room. You wouldn't believe it. I mean, some very, very successful people. And the thing that I noticed the most about the atmosphere, which was really refreshing, is that a lot of these people are really, really good people, and they care very deeply about their product or their service and their clients. Especially Russell Brunson. I've never been in the room with him before. I've never seen him speak live, but you could really, really feel it. You could hear it in his voice when he spoke, that he's incredibly passionate about what he does. And he ended up bringing some charities on stage. Operation Underground Railroad, they liberate children in third world countries from sex slavery. And another charity called Village Impact, and they build schools and water wells in Kenya. And he brought these people up on stage and shared their stories and ended up collecting hundreds of thousands of dollars in donations for these charities. It's really, really a wonderful thing to see the entrepreneurial community come together like this, and people who are focused on so much more than just money and marketing. They're really focused on impact. And they ended up giving away a brand new award that's never been given away before, called the Two Hearts Award. And it was given to Alex and Layla Hormozi, who run a business that I think helps gym owners scale. And they gave over $1 million to a charity that does after-school programs for, I think, inner-city schools. And so they got an award for giving over $1 million to charity. And you see these people who are absolutely killing it, and they're talking about strategies, they're talking about practical advice, they're talking about funnels and marketing and sales, but their hearts are in the right place. And that really, really makes a difference, especially for people who have a hard time with sales or might have, mental money problems going on. It's a very positive environment. And I kind of expected, I'll be honest, I kind of expected going in to meet a lot of people who I wouldn't like. Because I'm not a natural-born entrepreneur. I'm not a natural-born salesperson. I took the Tony Robbins DISC test, and money is my least important value out of all 7 of the values. Money's the least important. I really just don't care that much about money. I don't spend it. I save it up. So I was expecting to meet a lot of people who were just money-minded who I wouldn't like, but it was the exact opposite. A lot of these people are very value-driven, and it was inspiring, to say the least. So let me wrap this up for you guys. I know you guys are probably saying, get to the point. So I will. If you're thinking about going to a Funnel Hacking Live event, I would recommend that you go if you are someone who is brand new to starting an online business. If you don't know what you want to do, you just know that you want to work for yourself and you want to do it on your computer, you should definitely go. You should also go if you're someone who has an idea of what you're doing. Maybe you already have a business, maybe you already have revenue, but you're really, really trying to get a breakthrough. You know that you're just a few pieces away from figuring out what you want to do, but you're waiting for something to click. You should definitely go. You should go if you're someone who's really, really into ClickFunnels, or if you want to learn how to use ClickFunnels. You should go if you're someone who really wants to become part of this community. If you want to network, make some amazing friends, meet a ton of people, and have a ton of conversations. If you really want to get yourself out there, and maybe you're really ambitious and you really want to get the 2 Comma Club award, you really want to learn, you want to speak on stage, then go and take notes, because there are some amazing speakers. Some of the people who spoke this year were people who had no money and were sitting in the audience last year. That's how quickly it changes for some of these people. So if any of those apply to you, you should definitely try going. You shouldn't go if you're already pretty successful and you feel like you have a clear vision for your business for the next year. If you already have a really good plan in place, you pretty much know what you're doing, and you're doing work in your business, you probably shouldn't go, because there's a ton of information, and the last thing you want to do is get overwhelmed or taken off track. So you could still go if you're a really focused person and you know what to do and you know what you want, and you're not going to get distracted by shiny objects. But if you have questions about yourself in that regard, I probably wouldn't go. I would stay and focus on your business instead. It's definitely an event that's focused towards new people. It's definitely focused towards a lot of the basics and the fundamentals. Some of the topics were very useful. Like Dan Henry gave a speech about simplifying your business. That's only useful if you're someone who already has a big business, right? But most of the speeches were geared towards people who are just getting started. Like Russell Brunson's presentations were all very basic. I don't really know if he said anything that I haven't heard him say before, but his presentations were still great, and I still took notes, and it was a wonderful refresher for me. So overall, if any of those categories fit you, I do think it's worth the $1,000 price tag. If you're going to take your family or your spouse, you might consider getting a hotel room at the Opryland because it's beautiful. You could have a really romantic week in addition to attending Funnel Hacking Live. But if you fly solo and you like to travel light and fast like I do, save the money, pack your own food, get a motel nearby. It's really not that bad. So anyways, I hope that was a helpful review. If you have any other questions or if you think I left something out, please leave a comment down below. I read every single comment, and I will be sure to answer your questions if you're trying to make a decision. So anyways, let's get into the value. So what did I learn at Funnel Hacking Live? I'm gonna get into my briefcase over there. I'm gonna pull out my notes, and I'm gonna share with you all of my biggest takeaways. All right, so everyone who went to ClickFunnels or Funnel Hacking Live got that backpack. I think I showed you all of it in episode 1 of the vlog series. There, you know, you got a backpack, we got a pin, we got our name tag, we got some pens, and we got these notebooks. And I filled like the first half of this notebook with notes, so I will be walking through that. And in addition, all of the speakers, a lot of them gave us stuff. So every time Russell spoke, and he spoke 2 or 3 times a day, he gave us these documents here that have all of his frameworks with little spaces and questions, room for you to take all the notes on everything he's saying. So I'll kind of go through these. There were some other great giveaways too, like Marley Jacks. She gave us this booklet, which has basically step-by-step instructions for growing an audience on YouTube using videos. We also got some free books. Namely, Dan Henry gave everyone in the audience a copy of Digital Millionaire Secrets. Haven't read it yet, but I definitely will. And Garrett White gave everyone a super nice hard copy of his new book, Attack with the Stack, which from my understanding is just a self-development book. It says back here, profit, power, production, protection, perspective, and purpose. So I think it's more geared towards men, but I mean, the stuff he was talking about was just as good for women, and there's a lot of women warriors out there, so I mean, this is super nice. The funny thing about the books and everything is that they put one book on every single seat, and there were only about 4,500 people in the convention, but there were about 5,000 seats. So at the end of each of those days, there were people walking out with like 6 or 7 of these books. I myself got 2 of each, so I'll be giving those away soon. But anyways, let's not get distracted with that stuff. Let's talk about our notes. So Russell's, I think his first presentation was on expert evolution. He went over his funnel framework, and if you're familiar with any of Russell Brunson's stuff, you're gonna know this. He talked about the different attractive characters, the dreamer, the reporter, the framework creator, the servant, the expert. He talked about a framework, teaching framework, like story selling, explaining the strategy, the tactics, using social proof. And he also went over his funnel framework, where you talk about your story, you talk about your strategy. This whole presentation was basically about how to decide what you're going to do, how to create a framework that explains it, and then how to sell that framework to other people as a product or service. Very useful presentation for beginners and people who are just trying to figure out what they're going to sell. He then went over traffic secrets, which he has a new book coming out soon called Traffic Secrets, but he kind of gave us a preview. So this stuff was new. In this framework, he talked about the funnel framework in regards to traffic. So he talked about organic traffic, how to kind of worm your way into existing traffic streams, doing interviews, guest articles, things like that. And he talked about paid traffic, and then he talked about gathering emails so you can get traffic that you actually own, growing your email list. Again, very fundamental information that's very useful for brand new business owners. He talked about easy ways to fill your sales funnel. So in addition to those traffic streams, he talked about how you can look for your dream 100, which are basically 100 people who already have your ideal clients, and how you can create partnerships and find these people. And then he talked about having a strategy and a publishing plan for your content. All in all, it was a really great presentation on traffic. So we started with figuring out what you're going to sell and how you're going to sell it, and then how to get traffic and drive people to the funnel so that you have people to sell it to. And then He went more in depth on how to sell, and he gave a workshop on story selling, which is basically his epiphany bridge framework where you write out your story. You make it really inspiring. You talk about what didn't work, what did work, basically how to appeal to emotions when you're selling your product or service. And he walked everybody through writing out your story. And I've done this 100,000 times. I teach this to my clients, so I didn't do the whole thing, but I did think a lot about the current stories that I use, and it was overall a nice refresher for writing my personal story as an entrepreneur. He also briefly went over the perfect webinar script so that if you're thinking about making a webinar, you know how to integrate all of this into a sales webinar. So now we can open up the notebook. I'm not going to go over every single page of notes that I took because this video would take forever, and I honestly don't know how much value you're going to get from me just reading my notes, but I am going to give you some of my favorite speakers and basically just tell you what their main takeaway was. So Ryan Holiday spoke about classics. He talked about why Stoicism is still relevant today, even though it's thousands of years old, and he talked about ways to make your business become a classic that lasts forever. He said you have to be unique. You have to focus on getting a monopoly. If you can't find a new business category, you should create a new category. And if you can't be the first in a category, create a new category so that you can be the first one in it. He said, focus on what's timeless and don't be boring. Jermaine Griggs talked about focusing on the right things. He talked a lot about the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, lots of basic work ethic type stuff. He's a fantastic speaker, by the way. Catherine Jones talked about designing your funnels. She gave lots of tips about how to design like color, structure, words, images, spacing, how to design a funnel that's really pretty. Kind of hard to explain without showing you visuals. Gabe Schillinger talked about a contest funnel that he used to make lots of sales, where you basically promote some type of contest, and the only way to enter the contest is to share the advertisement. And he ended up getting like 280,000 shares. So that's basically 280,000 free ads that he didn't have to pay for. Really valuable presentation for people who are selling small, low ticket price products. Dan Henry gave one of the best presentations of the weekend, in my opinion. He talked about simplifying your business. He emphasized that the number one thing that sells your offer is your message and your delivery. So the way you talk, the way you explain what you're doing, it's all about what you're giving and how you show that to someone. That's what sells your product or your service. And he talked about something called the whiteboard webinar test, which is basically before you go and build an entire webinar and make a super complicated funnel, just give the presentation on a whiteboard. Draw on a whiteboard and film yourself doing it. Set that up and show it to clients or prospects. And if it sells, then spend all the hours making a real webinar, right? Because if your message is good and your product is good, you should be able to sell it from a whiteboard. And if you can prove that, then it's worth putting time and energy into a webinar because you can just increase conversions from there, which is really, really great advice because lots of people, they focus on 100 things at once and they never get their webinar done. And then if it doesn't work, that's all wasted time. But instead, you can just do the webinar whiteboard test, see if it works first, and then you can overcommit. Anissa Holmes talked about brick and mortar funnels. I took 2 pages of notes, even though I don't even have a brick and mortar business, but my father does, and I'm going to use these to help him run some ads. But she's a dentist, and she talked about really great ways to grow a brick and mortar business using funnels. And she said that the most important things to do are create shareable content. So you want people to share your advertisement. You want to create community engagement campaigns, so donating to local charities and building a culture around your local business is a great way to attract people. Highlight those things in your advertisements. And after you've highlighted the culture and you talk about charity and the impact you're making, offer the next logical step, which is obviously come on into my brick and mortar business, try my service, try my products, and lots of really, really great tips for creating viral ad campaigns for local brick and mortar businesses. Frank Kern made a surprise appearance. No one knew he was going to be there. They actually introduced him, and it was really funny and fantastic. He's a hoot. But he simply talked about being more transparent with your ads. So being honest, right? Just being radically transparent. Being like, hey, not everyone who buys my service gets results. Not everyone who buys online programs gets results. But here's what I do. Here's how it works. And if you think it will work for you, talk to me. Basically, what he's saying is market skepticism is at an all-time high. And if you're going to run ads where you're making these really big claims, people just aren't going to believe you. So instead, you can kind of throw them for a loop and just be honest. And be like, hey, look, there's lots of guys out there selling stuff that doesn't work. If you buy my product, it might not work for you. That's totally okay. But if you want to learn more about it, here's what it is and here's how it works. He worded it a lot better than I did, but his presentation was really great. And he said you just need to make sure that before you bring people into your sales funnels, you need to make sure that your ads are about the client and not about you. You need to build goodwill by solving their problems up front, so make sure your ads provide some kind of value. And make sure you're making plenty of offers. A lot of people just don't make enough offers. Julius Dean was there. He's a street magician from London. He talked about how to grow an audience, and he did it by literally just creating really good content and then messaging thousands of people who have big audiences and asking them to share it. Eventually, a group with like 1 million followers shared one of his videos because he messaged them. And then after that, Jimmy Kimmel shared it, and he got 6 million followers overnight. It was a great presentation with a really simple strategy. AJ Rivera and Mike Schmidt were there, and they talked about shadow funnels, which is basically if someone sees your ad or they see your content, they hear about you, and they're going to Google you to do some research on you. So what you do is you Google yourself, see what comes up, and then you create funnels and websites that rank in the top place for your search results. So you basically control what people who are researching you see on Google. And they call this a shadow funnel. So you create a funnel, you put lots of keywords in there, like, you know, for me it would be Coach Andrew review. Is Coach Andrew a scammer? Does the coaching conversion blueprint work? You know, I would make those the keywords, and then my funnel would show up if people are researching me. And in that funnel, I'd film a video where I address lots of their fears and concerns, and I would show them all of my testimonials and proof. It's basically just a way to make sure that the people you would otherwise lose, who can't find enough research on you, can see good information about you and feel a little bit safer buying from you. Steve Larson, he's one of my favorites too. He talked about patterns of people who are in the 2 Comma Club, so people who've made over $1 million. And he said that all of these people do 4 things. They know exactly who their dream client is. They're really good at selecting markets because good offers die in poor markets. They're really good at marketing positioning, which means they're not afraid to align with social issues and make noise, right? He wears that shirt. He's notorious for his shirt because it says capitalist pig. And lots of people get upset about it and they leave nasty comments and they share it. And he gets more attention because he's controversial. And fourthly, they use cash campaigns, which means they build noise campaigns. They make lots of noise, they say controversial things, they get really energetic and loud and big, and they get lots of attention. And all that does is it brings more people in. Rachel Pedersen talked about making courses. Her presentation was really simple and to the point. She basically said that if you're going to film a course, if you're going to make some kind of digital product, stop being a perfectionist and just make it, because it's good enough for 98% of people. And that was basically the bottom line of her presentation. Was, you know, the content's more important than the presentation. Like, if you have good content, just get started and make it and put it out there. You can always improve it later if you want, which is absolutely true. Dave Woodward talked about how to be more interesting and likable, which is really important if you want to be a personal brand and be someone, you know, on the internet who's selling something. People have to like you. He said, you can't keep learning enough to keep selling info to clients for life, so just focus on helping the people that you can really, really help. You have to keep people interested in you as a person to keep them around. You have to keep people interested in how your business is growing. Be relatable and be a hero, but make it clear that people can do what you did and be like you. You need to over-deliver, don't be boring, use lots of energy and constantly accentuate your qualities, and share your flaws openly. Most importantly, learn how to be a really good storyteller. Marley Jacks talked about video content and lead generation. She gave a really good script for filming videos, and she gave us that booklet. Really useful presentation. Prince EA talked a lot about storytelling. Heather Quizzle gave a really great presentation about overcoming adversity. She shared a very emotional story. And Garrett White talked about how to get through anxiety, basically. He had a 4-step process for overcoming difficult moments where you stop, you struggle with what you're struggling with, you submit to it, and then you strike by immediately taking action. It was a really great motivational speech. Not a lot of tactical advice, but it was very entertaining. And then Tony Robbins talked about a ton of stuff. I'm not even going to go through his notes because there's just so much here. But he helped a lot of people find clarity about their business and who they are and what they need to be focused. I ended up buying tickets to go see Tony Robbins with Unleash the Power Within in Chicago this summer. I'm going to take my wife because his presentation was really, really good. And I'm all about self-development. Okay, so that's it. My voice is hoarse. I need to drink some water. That was a lot. I hope some of you guys got some value from that. And if you're thinking about going to Funnel Hacking Live, hopefully you can make a better decision now. I'm not looking forward to editing all of this, but I'm going to get started on it. I have lots of stuff to do. So anyways, that concludes my Funnel Hacking Live 2020 vlog series. And I hope you guys enjoyed coming along for the ride. I'm Coach Andrew. Thanks for watching. Go to andrewwuellner.com to learn more about me, what I do, see if you're a good fit for one of my coaching programs. If you're an online entrepreneur like a coach or a consultant or a service professional and you are trying to grow an online business but you need help getting more clients, you're probably a perfect fit for the Coaching Conversion Blueprint, which is my hybrid coaching course. There's a link in the description for that. You can check it out, schedule a free phone call with me, and we'll talk more about it. That's all I've got for you guys. We'll talk soon. See you later.